1935, a year of contrast. The King's Silver Jubilee was marked by an unprecedented expression of loyalty, while a steady return to prosperity has set the seal on Jubilee year. But in foreign affairs, it has been the most critical since 1918. The war in Abyssinia and the menace of war again in Europe have darkened the horizon. The year began with a crisis abroad, that of the Saar. An overwhelming majority returned the territory to Germany, and thanks largely to British policing, there were no disturbances during or after the plebiscite. Finally, the German occupation brought a difficult situation to a happy close. In the same month, the Duke of Gloucester toured Australasia as the representative of His Majesty, and everywhere received a great ovation. February was marked by disaster when the Macon, the world's biggest dirigible, was lost at sea off California. 2 out of a crew of 83 lost their lives. Another sensation in America was the trial of Hauptmann, accused of kidnapping the Lindbergh baby. The poignant and bitter trial resulted in his being found guilty.
Did you swear to one truth in the Bronx courthouse?
March was a memorable month for motorists. The 30-mile-an-hour speed limit was introduced, and more signposts were added to the welter of warnings. We've got used to them now.
The National produced a sensation when Golden Miller lost his jockey Jerry Wilson. This is exactly how it happened. Reynoldstown won.
In April, the Prince of Wales made one of his rare talks on the screen when he appealed to King George's Jubilee Trust.
It will help to provide more and better facilities for the training and recreation of girls and boys between the ages of 14 and 18.
The month of Jubilee celebrations, Their Majesties driving through the capital acknowledged the sincere and spontaneous acclamation of a devoted people, a spectacle that will not be forgotten by any one of the thousands who cheered their King and Queen that day.
Then a tragedy. Lawrence of Arabia, the most romantic British figure of our time, the man who survived the perils of the desert revolt which he led, met his death in a motor smash.
In June, His Majesty celebrated his 70th birthday and attended the Trooping of the Colour, the most spectacular military parade in the world.
The Derby, the one and only Derby, provided a grand race this year. Everyone said Barham couldn't be beaten, and he wasn't.
The first voyage to America of the world's biggest liner, the French wonder ship Normandy, was an event of worldwide interest, but it's not long before the Queen Mary will be making hers.
In July, the King held special Jubilee reviews of the three fighting services. First, the Royal Air Force at Mildenhall. Then the Army, 10,000 troops at Rushmore Arena. And the fleet, a mighty array of fighting ships at Spithead.
Britain retained the Davis Cup when Tuckey and Hughes won the doubles. And it was 5 matches in a row when Perry beat Allison.
An event of the greatest importance at the zoo was the first walk taken by Boo Boo's daughter Jubilee. Once seen, never forgotten. In September, His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester was betrothed to Lady Alice Montague Douglas Scott. Britain rejoiced with their Majesties in the romance of their third son. In the same month, a tragedy that shocked the world, the death of Queen Astrid of the Belgians. All Belgium mourned with the young king in his cruel loss.
Sir Malcolm Campbell, Movietone's editor, achieved his life ambition when he passed the 300-mile-an-hour mark in Bluebird on the Utah Salt Lake, the fastest that man has ever traveled on land.
War. Mussolini's test mobilization at the beginning of October was the prelude to the war in Abyssinia. The League of Nations had made every effort to avert the conflict, but despite the League, the Italian troops advanced. Haile Selassie, Emperor of Abyssinia, determined to resist the invader, rallied his warriors, and there began a war, the repercussions of which none could foretell with certainty.
But the dark outlook abroad could not cloud Britain's pleasure in the advent of the Duke and Duchess of Kent's baby son.
The wedding of the Duke of Gloucester and Lady Alice Scott was held privately in Buckingham Palace, owing to the bride's bereavement. But on their way to the station, the royal pair received Londoners' congratulations.
The general election resulted in an overwhelming victory for the national government and a clear majority of 247 over all other parties in the House. Mr. Stanley Baldwin was again Prime Minister.
No review of this historic Jubilee year could end more fittingly than with the message which His Majesty the King broadcast to all the peoples of his empire on Christmas Day.
The year that is passing, the 25th since my accession, has been to me most memorable. It called forth a spontaneous offering of loyalty, and I may say of love, which the Queen and I can never forget. How could I fail to note in all the rejoicings not merely respect for the throne, but a warm and generous remembrance of the man himself, who, may God help him, has been placed upon it.